My, okay,
Okay.
we've been talking about some things related to um, sort of giving up on a process or a goal. I was trying to get a cell phone card, and I had to give up the way I was approaching it, and I was just going to go home, and then I discovered another store where there wasn't a long line where I could actually get the card in about 5 minutes. And we were talking about, is there a pattern here uh, of like giving up and then things suddenly work out or something like that? And we've been talking about that. Tom been talking, and I've been talking about that for 5 or 10 minutes now, and I just decided to turn on the recording. And we both listened to a video, a discussion between Jordan Peterson and Dr. Ian McGilchrist on McGilchrist is an expert on right and left brain, and Tom wanted to talk about that some more. So I said, well, let's just turn the recording on. So what did you want to say about that now, Tom?
Well, I started to talk about in relation to your experience yesterday and what you described as this sort of giving up, and then a solution comes
Mm-hmm.
some way, right? And then the first thing I talked about is what, for me, in my experience, as I look back, it is what I recognize uh, a, a distinction between a couple of at least two operating systems in my mind. And um, I jumped to McGilchrist and Peterson because I think that one analogy for the systems could be left and right brain operational functions.
All right.
So if we take a situation, say you decided you're walking through in a very rational and logical sequence to achieve something you need to achieve, which is get your buy some mobile or cellular time. You come across an obstacle. You're in this. Again, I don't want to presume that this is the process you were in, but I'm looking at it and relating it to some similar experiences that I've had, and that is where I'm in a process. I'm in a certain operating system in my mind. It's rational. It's linear. It's based on previous experience, and I'm going to solve this problem. And then I come up against this a barrier to solving the problem within this system, and uh, I can stay with it within the system, and I have, and there's no way out. It's not going to solve itself, right?
Yeah.
I can't. I shouldn't be drinking alcohol. It's destroying my life. I'm going to try to figure out how to stop. I'm going to do rational recovery. I'm going to limit the amount of alcohol I drink, only 3 a day, 2 a day. Maybe I'll only drink on the weekends. I'll solve it that way. I'm going to take supplements because I read a book on rational recovery, and it said that you can reverse the effects of alcoholism by taking X amount of supplements. So, okay, my rational mind tells me, okay, I'll stop drinking. I'm worried about the damage. I'll take the supplements. I'm going to be healed. But you know what? The next thing that same mind tells me,
Hmm.
well, if you can heal it, I can still drink and take the supplements, and I can still drink.
That's what I was thinking. You meant like, yeah, I can still drink because I can
Yeah,
neutralize the bad effects of it.
I can neutralize the bad effects. It doesn't solve the problem. What solves the problem? I can't solve it. I give up. In the terms of a 12-step program, it says understanding that You're powerless. I'm powerless within that framework, that processing. However, there's something from somewhere else. Higher power. Where's that higher power? Some say it's God, it's out there. Okay, that works for them. It's unlocking a portion. It's unlocking for me an unfamiliar operating system. Intuition, perhaps. Now, that maybe not have a direct parallel to the experience you had, but let's just go over that. Did you in any way, how in the world, even I'm sitting here thinking in my rational mind, how in the world could there be this big place, absolutely crowded and packed? It's going to take hours. And suddenly there's a little place not that far away. Does that even make sense? It doesn't.
Well, there,
Makes no sense.
It was
It
there.
makes no sense.
I suppose it was there, all the time. I don't know that,
Yeah.
but maybe I,
we're not saying it magically appeared,
yeah.
but very much in contradiction to our linear.
I walked right by. I could have seen it on the way in.
Yeah.
Not only I could have seen that on the way in, but the other one, I saw it clearly, but I thought it was the wrong one because it didn't have the right name.
Correct. Yeah. So and
then I walked, I don't know how far, a mile or two over this big mall, both levels, searching for it, and then I come back to it, and now it's so crowded I can't get in.
Yeah, and so then I'll move chronologically along, and you're well aware that I worked with Andrew as a teacher, and one of the things that I began to learn, taught is that when there seemed to be barriers or an unsolvable situation, is to sit and wait, just pause. For example, we would plan events with Andrew, and we would go downtown, and it would go downtown at peak times. That's Charleston, that's tourism. And I would always, when he brought up the time and where we're going to go, I would always bring up, going to be held a park down there. We're not going to find a parking space. And he would go, well, maybe why don't we just kind of think in another way, right? Why don't we just, relax, see what happens. And sure enough, we'd find a parking space. So, Steve, one of the things that this is reminding me of, something I think you'll find very interesting in the videotape on the secrets of Rosicrucianism is, and whether this is true or not or actually happened, but he talked about the viewpoint in the beginning, and maybe you saw it, where at one point in time, human consciousness was essentially clairvoyant, unified, and that we were of one mind with these greater beings or thought forms that were there to help us in society. And then we developed the part of our brain that's linear and rational, and we became separate from that.
Yeah,
and he said,
mm-hmm.
He said that we're now at a time where we're now integrating that previous level of clairvoyance with that rational thinking, or perhaps in McGilchrist's terminology, we're reintegrating right and left. I don't know.
Could be.
But that's just interesting to me.
Could be, but it reminds me of several things I studied years ago on the evolution of consciousness. Owen Barfield, Saving the Appearances. Let's see, what was that best-selling book? The Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind. What a title, by Julian Jaynes. It was a bestseller back in the early 80s. And with similar concepts, and the Homeric poems were in this old type of consciousness where they were seeing and talking to gods, and Zeus told me to do this, and Zeus told me to do that, and in the Old Testament, like it seemed like they were just having a relationship with God or angels that was like mundane, almost like it
Yes.
happened, like it almost happened every day or every week, or and it was like everybody experiences this,
Yeah. Yeah. So what does your experience yesterday mean for us in terms of our how we conduct ourselves, or what does it mean? I mean, that to me
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
question.
What does it mean as far as, yeah, it's a real burning question for me right now. Let me just say that I've told you, I think I've told you this before, but I've had the realization lately that there is a really global block for me my whole life to accomplishing goals and getting what I want. And I realized this global belief that says, reinforced by consistent experience of big things. I mean, small, it seems like, small mundane things. Yeah, I can sometimes get what I want, but if it's something big like a job or some major life decision, I can't get what I want because the world and the universe doesn't allow it to happen. And um, I'd also like to, in that regard, um, I was walking down the street the other day, just yesterday or day before, and came upon a common occurrence that we've all seen, which is a little boy. Uh, I don't know his age. I'm not good at guessing exactly the age of children, but maybe around 2 years old. I'm thinking, but he could walk, but I didn't hear him really talking, but he was just perturbed and angry and just contrary and crying on the street, and his mother was trying to calm him down, and the doorman or the security guard was, trying to talk to him and uh, calm him down a little bit, but he was having none of it. And um, and I thought, and it triggered a realization in me that, you know, even children at that age have this feeling, I can't get what I want. And I think that probably um, it gets modified by socialization, and it gets covered up by so-called civilization. And in a lot of people, it seems to disappear, or in their belief or in their consciousness, they don't experience it anymore. I can't say what other people's actual experience is. I probably everybody experiences some level of frustration or world obstacle when they're trying to accomplish a goal or get what they want. But for me, it was extreme. And I think that um, let me just talk about what I think it is for me, because I often get into trouble or dispute if I try to um, extrapolate my experience to the collective. That it's like this is this is the same uh, belief that I had as a young person. I can't get what I want, and of course, we know as adults that a lot of the things that children want are magical thinking, and they don't from our adult perspective, those things that they want are either dangerous or impossible or should not be granted because the consequences would be uh, unacceptable, you know. So there has to be this, it seems like there has to be this period where children get frustrated and angry and just lose their minds about the fact that um, that their wish is not the universe's command.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have that, and then we internalize. I guess I internalized somehow, and then there was a very contrary um, situation that followed that with my mother, especially, who just had the goal to break me and not let me have much of what I wanted at all. So it just got very frustrating and very extreme. But I'm sensing somehow that this principle or this pattern that we're talking about could be the way out of that.
Mhm. I think so.
What do you think about that?
Well, a couple of things have come to my mind. If we look at that child who is being obstinate, or if we project back to you at that age or me, there are very few things that we compare to an adult mind. What is it that we want at that point? And when a child is in that state, we often hear them say they don't even know what they want. They're either overtired, they're hungry, basic needs, they need some attention, right? Maybe overheated. Um, so really, I think the that's the first thing that occurs to me, that there's some very basic things that they want. They're not grand, but if those things are repeatedly not met, then and would come with a sense of I'm never, what I want is never met. And then we grow up and the world is more sophisticated. We're not getting what we want. It goes back to that original situation. Now, do children? Oh golly, what happens to us at that point? Do we grow developmentally and realize that, oh, ultimately my basic needs are met? I can get on to the next phase. I put that behind me, and though some things are withheld at this time for our safety and so forth, and I might resist it, I realize that for the benefit anyway. My gratification is delayed. That's an important thing. I've just kind of rambled about that. The other thing that occurs to me is the importance of um, initiation or rituals, um, rites of passage. Okay, and I refer to Richard Rohr's book on Adam's promise or Adam's return, the promises of initiation or rites of passage for men, and what it teaches young men. One, that you're not all that important. Two, your life is not your own. So in the grand scheme of things, what I want is not that important, and it's not mine to ask for. So in a lack, and we're going to die, and life is hard. It's just hard. So in a culture that lacks transitioning children, particularly young men, through those phases where we go, oh, I'm part of something a lot bigger, than just what I want. How much does that contribute to our idea that we are to get what we want.
Mhm.
Now, we have a society that reinforces we should be able to get what we want. If you're at
Yes,
the top of your game, you're competitive, dog eat dog, go get what you want.
yes,
So we throw that into the mix,
yes,
right?
yeah.
Those are just some random things that have come to my mind.
Mhm.
So,
So let's talk about let's try to explore this alternative operating
yeah,
system and see whether we can tease out the principles of that would make our life, my life or your life, anybody's life, more, um, I don't know, peaceful, less conflicted, smoother. Um, I almost don't dare say to get what we want,
right.
uh,
Well,
but
what is it? What do we want? That's that's first thing. Do we know what we want?
mm, probably not too clearly.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I know. Yeah, I know. In particularities, I think I know what I want. I mean, I can specify that I wanted to and felt that I needed to get a phone card
yeah,
yesterday. That's mundane. That's my service was going to run out today, and I needed something to fill that gap.
yeah. And you wanted a phone card because it's a basic need. But what, and then you decided that here's how you're going to go about and get it.
Yeah, and it seemed like I didn't even have to think about it. Okay, I got to look for a phone provider, and I did research at home,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this provider is the one that I want to go with. So it seemed like a no-brainer to just go into the mall and
Yeah,
walk around, and I thought if I could just find an information desk, I could ask where it is, but I couldn't find one until I had walked through the whole mall.
right. So, is there any result? Is there any Carl? Were there any? Can you remember if there were any? And I'm projecting what I would be like going through that. I would be getting irritated, just irritated. I've got to
Well,
get this done. I want to get it done. I would have
well,
feelings of irritation and anger.
well,
And then I would look at that crowd and go, no, I'm not doing this.
I wouldn't, I wasn't conscious of getting irritated. I was walking, and it's looking. At some point, I thought, oh well, I'm getting some exercise. I'm walking, and it's not hot. It's cool in here, and I'd rather be exercising in here than I would outside in the heat. So I wasn't terribly frustrated, but um, when I got to the when I finally found the place, and then I thought that look, it's so full, it's going to take me a half hour or an hour to do anything, and I don't even know what the plans are, and I might waste my time. Okay, it's not worth it. I'll go. I didn't have a clear plan at that point. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe I'll just go home and try again tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But so, I mean, back to the question, what does yesterday's event, what's the,
Somehow um somehow okay, it's like I'm gonna mention a principle here that I've formulated before. I don't know whether this is true, and I'm not gonna defend it to the hilt, but I can't get what I want as long as I want it.
Yeah.
When
So
I don't
you,
want, when I don't want it, when I don't want it anymore, then it comes.
yeah. So then with your Buddhist background, how would you frame that?
Um, with my Buddhist background, I would frame it as again, I'm not going to defend this either because I've got some doubts about this, but um, desire is one of the three causes of suffering. Um, as I've as I've been taught, you have desire and you have aversion. You have push, you have pull to me and the things I want, and push away from me the things I don't want. Um, Desire and aversion or anger, and the apex of that is ignorance of the nature of reality. I don't know
Hmm.
how things actually exist. I think they exist in their own right, independent of anything else. And that polarizes me into desire or aversion. And so this is
About non, yeah.
aversion. I'm giving up my I'm giving up my desire, and somehow that takes me into a space where uh, I can get something that I couldn't get as long as I was actually pushing for it.
Yeah. How about non-attachment to result?
That too.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take that and how might that apply to something that's very practical, real, and at the forefront of your life or my life right now?
Okay. Can I go? I'm just thinking here. Okay. Can I go into the mall and think, oh, it'd be nice if I could find a phone card, but if not, that's okay too, and I'll just do without it if uh for today, or you know, um, for something as easy or mundane as a phone card, I'm bound to get it today or tomorrow or Monday at the latest. I'll find somewhere that's not crowded. So I'm not gonna uh, I'm not gonna get bent out of shape about it if I can't get it today.
Yeah, that's a good ask. And I don't know. I mean, you needed a phone card and you needed to get it. But what was the lesson over not,
It goes against, but that that mentality, let me say, goes against the way I think I was conditioned, and probably the way most males are conditioned, that we, the prime, the biggest priority is get her done, get
get
it
it
done.
done?
Remember, we were talking about that with Michael
Absolutely.
last
Yeah,
week, that the on the farm, we got to
yeah,
get the work done.
correct. Get the thing done. Yeah,
And I think that's different for women. Most
yeah,
women, I think, for because the masculine point of view is just get it done.
correct. Yeah, agreed. All right. So then what are there some more bit are getting a phone card, although absolutely necessary, probably is trivial related to some bigger things
Yeah,
that you want that
those
you believe you can't get.
those small things seem to be a lot easier to get. When I reflect on the dictum, I can't get what I want, then I realize, well, in a lot of small things, I do get what I want. But
Hmm.
when it's something that I really strongly want, like a life goal, a job, or
Right.
education, or um, you know, where I'm going to live. Like I can't, I can't successfully stay in Istanbul for a long time now. like I wanted, you know? Those are the things that seem to get frustrated a lot.